Let's turn images into voxels. I'll show you how to create a Blender geometry node setup to voxelize any image you throw at it. You'll learn how to transfer colors from each pixel to each voxel, how to downscale the image by powers of 2, how to optimize rendering by deleting unneeded voxels, and you'll definitely want to watch the end to see how to use a color ramp to drive the turntable animation. So let's get this started. Let's go up to geometry nodes, click plus new, and press X to delete the group input. Right away, I'm going to drag a picture from my file system into the node setup here. And once we've got it in our node graph, you can press X to delete. We don't need it yet. But what that does is that loads the texture into our Blender file. So now what we can do is we can start to read some information from this image. You can see here I've got the Singularity picture, and this is courtesy of the Blender Studio. And I actually want this to be a dynamic setup where we can easily swap the image and it will voxelize whatever image we throw at it. So let's set this up to be a group input. And that will allow us to change the image in our geometry nodes modifier stack over here. So we can select Singularity. Now what I want to do is be able to map each pixel of this image to a voxel, to a cube. And we can Control-Shift-Click on this image info to look at the width and the height. So it's perfectly square, 735 by 735. Now beware, if you have a much bigger image, like a 1024 by 1024, that 1024 squared is about 1,000,000 voxels. So it will really slow down your system, if not crash Blender. So what I want to do right off the bat is I want to downsample this width. So let's drag that to a divide node, and we'll take the width and we'll divide it by some number. We'll call it group input. And let's press N to change this to, we'll call it ratio. And let's also set that to be a type integer. So now what I want to do is make sure that we can downsample this image by powers of 2. So if we change this to power and say the base is 2, 2 to the power of 0 is 1. So this is a 1 pixel to 1 voxel. So now let's Shift A to bring a grid. And we'll take this calculated value and plug that into size X. And then Option Shift click to connect that to the output. We've got this huge grid because it's 735, in this case, meters. I want to do the same for the height. I'll divide that height by this power value, and we'll plug that into the size Y. So this grid is just getting way too big. It's 735 by 735 meters. So let's just, at the very end here, let's bring in a transform, and we'll just scale this to 0.1 for now. Go to the top view. So now it's a lot more manageable. And for the number of vertices, we're going to want the same values here that we've calculated. So let's just drag those into the width goes into the vertices X, height goes into vertices Y. So now we can see that we have 540,000 vertices on this image. But if we start to downsample this, that number decreases drastically. But as we do so, the size of this grid keeps changing. So let's take this same group input and the power, Shift D that, and let's take that and plug this into the scale. And we'll take that math node and we'll multiply by 0.2. So now whenever we change the ratio and downsample, the size of the grid stays the same, but the number of voxels changes. So let's leave this at 2 as we develop this out. So now that we've got our grid, let's instance on points a cube. We'll drag out from this instance and say cube, and we'll leave it at the default 1 by 1 by 1. So now we've got how many instances? 33,000 cubes. Again, if we downsample this, there's a lot less. But how do we map the color of a pixel from this picture onto a single cube? What I want to do is have one color per cube sampled from the image texture. So let's store a named attribute right here. We'll change this to be a color. We'll store this value on the instance. We'll call this color. And let's Shift A to bring in that image texture again. And we can sample the colors from that texture with this color output. The image itself will be that group input image. And to see those colors, we need to set the material and go into our shading. And this is going to be the easiest shader ever. All we're going to do is bring in an attribute node. We'll change this to instancer because we stored color on instancer, and we'll connect that to the surface. And now this is black because we have not set our image in the modifier. So let's change that to be our Singularity. So this probably isn't what you expected, but there's a super easy fix to this, thankfully. We just need to use the UVs from our grid to map the points of the grid to the pixels of the image. So all we need to do for that, it sounds a lot more complicated than it is, but we have our grid, we have this UV map that comes with it. If we plug that UV map into the image texture's vector input, then the problem resolves itself. It's awesome. That looks pretty cool. And now the cool thing is if we go into the modifier stack and we increase the resolution, we can see it sharpen. It gets slower, dramatically slower, as we move toward a one-to-one pixel to instance, pixel to voxel. But you can see how we can downsample that and decrease the clarity. We can pixelate this thing into oblivion. Look at that. So 2 looks pretty good for the performance I get from this. But I want to optimize this a little bit further. What I want to do is I want to delete some of these instances. So I want to delete instances where the voxels are pretty close to black. And I basically want to isolate these brighter colors. So to do that, we can check this stored named attribute that we set, this color. So let's bring in a named attribute node. We'll change this to be a color output. We named it color. And if we take this color and we compare it, we can say, if this color equals black, then we'll delete it. And we can change the epsilon so that it includes darker and darker colors. And that's looking pretty good. What I want to do is change the world strength to be 0 and then go into rendered. And it kind of hides the background. So for this image, it looks like 0.015 is a pretty good match, but we're hiding some of those missing voxels with the background, as you can see here. So depending on your image, you may want to tweak these values, or you might not even want to delete any of the voxels to begin with. But let me show you another way that you can optimize this. I'm dragging in a Blender logo. So now that I've got it in my node graph, I can press X, go to the modifier. Looks like I've got 2 image inputs, so I'm just going to delete this one and clean this up. This should be the group input image that we originally set up. Okay, so now we're back to 1 image. Let's change that to the Blender logo and let's look at this world. Now this black is coming from the alpha of this image. So if I go into the image editor and choose the Blender logo, we can see that it's transparent around this logo. So a better way to optimize this kind of image would be to take this attribute and separate the color, and that gives us this alpha channel here. So we can compare that alpha and say that if the alpha equals 0, we'll delete that geometry. So if we unmute delete geometry, we can see that it deleted only the alpha pixels, the alpha voxels. And if you wanted to use the 2 in conjunction with each other, you could bring in a Boolean math and you could say if the alpha is 0 or the color is black by some epsilon, then we'll delete those voxels. So that's how you can optimize and get rid of additional voxels that you really don't need to be rendering. All right, now let's give this some offset so it looks a lot more 3D. Right now it's totally flat, but let's bring in a noise texture and a set position node. And we'll just drag that color into the offset. We'll turn off normalize so it's centered around 0. So the values will be between -1 and +1. And then if we Shift A to bring in a vector math node and connect that between the 2, we'll set this to multiply. And if we leave the X and the Y values at 0, it will negate the effect of the noise on those 2 axes, but we can crank up the Z value here to something maybe like 50. And we can see that it starts to spread these voxels apart, which looks super cool. So let's work from the camera now. Let's select camera up here, press Alt-G, Alt-R, tilde to view camera, and GZZ to pull the camera back. And we're going too far away, so we're losing our grid. So let's go back to where we scaled that down. Let's scale that down even further, 0.01, and GZZ and move the camera back in that way. So with this setup, the last thing I want to do is be able to rotate this around with a nice smooth easing animation. So to set that up, we'll reuse this transform geometry node that we have sitting here, and we'll just plug into the rotation of this. And so what I want to do is rotate this on the y-axis procedurally. So to do that, let's bring in our basic animation driver by taking the frame and divide that by the number of end frames that we have. So right click and copy as new driver. And then in the divide, right click to paste that driver. Now this gives us a percentage between 0 and 1, and we can use that in a ping pong node so that when the value goes from 0 to 1, when it reaches 0.5, it'll go back down from 0.5 down to 0. And so with those values, if we bring in a map range, we can say that the minimum value is going to be 0. The max value that will be input in this map range node will be 0.5 because that's what we specified in our ping pong. And I want that to go from 0 degrees rotation, so I'll leave 2min at 0, to a max of, we'll say pi, so 180 degree rotation. So when we're halfway through the animation, it will reach the max rotation of 180 degrees, and then it will reverse backwards. So if we just plug that output into a combine XYZ on the Y-axis, and then plug that into our rotation, if we hit spacebar, we can see that it starts to rotate. Now that's a little slow, so I'm going to bring this down to maybe 120. We can see it reverse, but right now it's doing it linearly. So let's just change that to maybe smoother step to get a really nice ease on that. It accelerates pretty quickly through the middle of its rotation, and that's because we have smoother step interpolation selected. We can change that to smooth step just to kind of decrease that rate that is changing in the middle. There's a little less ease at the start and at the end of it though. That is pretty sweet. So now what I want to do is just test one more time to make sure that we can throw any kind of image at it. I'm going to drag this image in that my friend created and gave me permission to use. So in the modifier, we can go and change that selected image to the new one that we imported, and we get this super cool voxelize effect. Pretty nice. What happens if we change the ratio down to 1? There you go. So that looks pretty cool. It's definitely harder on the system the higher up you go. Okay, so one thing I want to try before we render this out though, is I want to take the output of this ping pong. This goes from 0 to 0.5 and 0.5 to 0. And this is kind of ugly. I'm going to drag this backwards. I'm going to plug this into another map range into the value. This is really ugly layout. I'm just going to try it and see what happens here. So we know the values go from 0 to 0.5. I want to flip these from 1 to 0. And so then what I'm going to do is shift D this multiply and change this to be scale. And I'm going to plug this result into the scale. So what I'm hoping this does is when we start to play the animation, this scale where it's exploding out all the voxels, this scale will be full strength. And by the time it reaches the end of its rotation, it will scale that down to 0. So this image would look sharper. We wouldn't have these gaps between the voxels. So fingers crossed, press play. Let's see what happens. Ooh, yeah, look at that. Looks better on this side than it does on this side. So why is that? What did I do? All right, so that didn't quite work the way I wanted it. Here, it does get flat, but then by the end of the animation, it's fully expanded again. So it starts expanded, goes flat. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to delete this map range. I like this idea. I like this tweak. So let's Shift A to bring in a color ramp. Let's try this. I'm going to drag the output of this frame divided by the end frame into our factor. And I'm going to set this up in a way that we have sections of our animation so that at the start, we have a scale of 0. At the end, we have a scale of 0. In the middle, we also have a scale of 0. And now if I click this middle and click plus, it puts a stop exactly in the middle of these two. And if I click the last stop and press plus, it does the same thing. So let's change those to be 1 and this other one to be 1. And let's set the easing to be ease. So then we can take the color output and plug this into the scale. And so now if we go back to the start of our animation, we can see that at the very start, it's completely flat. About a quarter of the way through, it starts to expand. When it comes to a rest, it's flat again, so we see this in nice clarity, and it reverses. So that looks really awesome. Let's pump up that spread on the noise and go into our camera view. Oh, that looks really cool. Yeah, that looks really cool. I was too lazy to try doing the math for this this type of animation on the fly. So the color ramp, I'm glad that worked out. I think that's a pretty cool trick to have in my tool belt. So let's go set this up to render. Let's go into the render settings. Eevee's good. I'll turn on ray tracing just for fun. Motion blur could look cool. You can try experimenting with that. I'm going to leave it off for now. I'm going to go to color management, and I can tell the vibrancy is different between the image and the viewport. So I don't know if like filmic does look better. Standard maybe even looks even better, to be honest. Yeah, that almost looks like a 1-to-1. Let's go to the output panel here. Let's change this to 30 frames per second. So that's going to speed up our animation quite a bit. That looks pretty cool still. Yeah, I'm going to leave it at 30. And for the media type, let's change it to video. Encoding, we'll do MPEG 4. I'll change the codec to 265 and change the quality to perceptually lossless. And I think this is going to look really cool once it renders out. So let's go to render and render the animation. So here's a challenge for you. Just like we learned how to scale the noise down to 0 at the start, the middle, and the end of the animation, how could you dynamically change the image resolution to be 1-to-1 at precisely the moment the rotation stops. Leave a comment telling us your solution. While you're at it, subscribe to the channel. And let's keep learning geometry nodes together. Click the video popping up right now, and I'll see you over there.